Welcome back. Happy Friday. We have our final day of employment interviews today. I will also be posting your grades and just updates in the class by Monday. We'll hear from our final group. And then after class today, I'm going to be circulating a Google form that'll ask that you complete by Monday, which is indicating your preference for the final interviews in the class. So the 4 interviews that you get to pick from in order of preference will be performance interviews, right? Assessing somebody's job performance that we talked about a little bit last week. Persuasive interviews, where we talk about how to convince somebody, for example, convincing someone to join at EOU. A counseling interview that's designed to provide support for people, or healthcare interview that deals with supporting people in healthcare sectors. So be thinking about which of those 4 sounds the most interesting to you. And I'll be asking you to complete and share your preference by the end of the day Monday. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on our final round. Again, 8 minutes. I'll give you time signals as your remaining time goes down. So we'll start with our first partnership with Tanya and Bill.
Thank you so much for coming into this interview, Melton. I'm Tanya Reed, the athletic director here at Middle High School, and I'll be conducting your interview for the position as a soccer coach for the next year. The purpose of this interview is to get to know you better as a person and possible employee. I'll be asking you about your schooling, prior work experience, goals, and why you are interested in this position. There'll be a couple minutes for questions at the end of the interview, but before we begin, okay, awesome. Let's get started. Could you tell me a couple of things about yourself that aren't from the resume?
Yes, I've played sports all of my life. I grew up playing sports, all kinds, besides just soccer. So I know how different sports are ran, and I've seen a variety of different coaches and how they coach. I have an older brother, an older sister, and a younger brother. I help coach my younger brother in football and basketball because those are the sports he likes to play. And he says I'm a good coach and I know what I'm doing, so that's that.
Awesome. And what's your current educational focus right now?
I'm currently attending Eastern Oregon University as a freshman.
And do you think you'll be continuing into higher education?
Yes, I would like to maybe go to graduate school or something like that.
Awesome. And then what's your major here at Eastern Oregon?
I major in psychology with a minor in business.
Okay. And how do you think you'd be able to apply your major and minor to being a soccer coach?
So I know that psychology deals a lot with human behavior and emotions. So I think I'll be able to communicate with my team and help lead them to become better human beings. Sports can be very emotional, whether that be at practice or in games and even off the field. So I think I think I could apply my skills to them, just helping them deal with it.
What do you think your biggest weakness is?
My biggest weakness would probably be self-criticism. I can be very hard on myself. It's like when things don't go my way, like if I've been training for something or trying to help other people and it just doesn't go my way, I feel as if like I did something wrong, and I tend to put all of the problems on myself. So I think that would probably be my biggest weakness, but it is getting better.
That's good. And do you know any ways that help you overcome this weakness?
I think yes, of course. As I said, like it's getting better. I just need to understand that people make mistakes and that I don't need to take everything so seriously. And so like as times go, and I'm still pretty slow in learning. So I think that's how we can improve.
And then going off that, what do you think your biggest strength is?
My biggest strength would probably be my communication skills. I have great empathy skills that have helped me understand situations a lot better. I've had many friends and family come and talk to me about their problems, or if they just needed someone to listen. So I'm always here for them and love to help.
And in your previous jobs, did you encounter any conflicts between the organizations?
There weren't really any conflicts at my job, except for I was in leadership council, so there was a few conflicts.
And how did you resolve those conflicts?
So, well, for this one example, there was these two people at the leadership council that were arguing about a topic. People love to argue about their opinions and why they are right, so they just wouldn't stop going at each other. It ended up going farther than it should have, so I got up and calmed both of them down, and I made them work it out and find the meaning between the two arguments, so that way they could better understand each other. And sure enough, they were arguing about the same thing, so for no reason, so calming the situation down and letting them understand what they do.
And then out of all these previous jobs, which one do you believe has prepared you most for taking on this position?
I would say being an assistant coach for a wrestling program.
And what do you think your biggest takeaway from being assistant coach was?
My biggest takeaway, I learned a lot under my head coach.
Mhm.
His name is Clay Robinson. He's a great guy, so I got to be under him and learn from him.
Mhm.
He was a great mentor for me. I was pretty young, so I was still developing myself, and I was in wrestling, so I was learning about wrestling as well. So he taught me everything I know, such as communication skills, being a leader. He was why I was in leadership council. So that way it wasn't just for myself, but so I could help others as well. And just learning from mistakes.
And then going on to the position, what are you interested in being? Like, what interested you in being a soccer coach?
Just being like me playing soccer my whole life. I knew that if I wasn't going to be playing soccer at the high like professional level, I knew I wanted to coach soccer and spread my knowledge of the sport to the younger people up and coming who also have the same desires as me.
And then why did you end up choosing to go high school?
I am from here. So I graduated just recently, a couple of years ago. And so being in the area, like I understand the program and how everything is ran.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like not prepared at all and 10 being super prepared, how prepared do you think you are to handle this position?
I would say a 9. I'm very confident in myself and I understand the culture here and how to address the situation.
And then I have a question for you. So how would you like deal with the opposing parents?
I would listen to their perspectives,
Mhm.
which I can't always be like told everything to myself. So listen to their perspective and have professional conversations about the topic that they wish to talk about.
And say like a parent insists their child does not get enough playing time, how would you deal with that situation?
I would inform them that their kids' playing time is determined by how much work they're putting into practice. I'm not the type of coach to have favorites, so there's not any bias within my team. So I would just let them know like however much work their kid puts in, how much they'll take out.
And last question I have for you is, what do you think will make you stand out from the other candidates for this job?
I know I want this job more than they do. I feel as if I'm more ready than they are. I've lived here my whole life, played on this team for all 4 years, so I understand the culture and program. I am pretty young, but that just means that I'm eager to work.
That's about all I have for you today, but before we finish wrapping up, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. How would you describe the culture here?
I would describe the culture as very close and adaptable. All the athletes are always ready to learn, and for the most part, they're very hard workers.
Good to hear. Are there any funds for the soccer program?
Yeah, we do have a couple funds put away for the soccer program, but we also encourage you as a coach to put on fundraisers such as raffle tickets, clothing drives, and any other activities that you are.
Of course, So what didn't work out with the previous coach?
The previous coach unfortunately did not fit our expectations here at Minico High School, so we had to let him go. However, we are looking forward to new coaching styles and improvements that we can saw.
Perfect, and that's it.
Okay, awesome. I'd like to thank you again for having interest in this position and coming out to do this interview and sharing a bit about yourself. I'll be sure to get back to you about this job within the next 2 weeks. It was very nice to meet you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you both. Feel free to take a switch and we'll get started.
So hello, Natanya. It is very nice to meet you. My name is Wilson Menendez. I am the head coordinator here at Sports Coordination. Thank you for meeting with us for your employment interview. I do want to let you know that this interview is being recorded for further evaluation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So there will be time after the interview if you have any questions you'd like to ask. But do you have any questions that you'd like to ask before?
No.
Perfect. So let's start by telling me where are you from?
I'm from Juneau, Alaska.
Are you currently in school?
Yes.
What school do you attend?
I attend Eastern Oregon University as a freshman.
Okay, and what are you studying?
I'm majoring in communications and I'm looking at minoring in psychology.
So let's talk a little bit about your resume. I saw on your resume that you were a tour guide. How did that go?
It went really well for that company. I worked as a tour guide and then tour attendant and transportation manager. And so with all those positions, I've learned to have excellent customer service. And I've learned to work independently as well as in group settings and be able to multitask, stay organized, and then stay positive throughout the whole thing.
I also saw that you recently worked as a waitress / barista. What did you learn from doing with that customers?
As a barista, I had to deal with a lot of different types of customers, and some were super friendly and others were often in a rush. So I learned keeping a smile on my face can go a long way. So whenever there's any issues or difficulties with customers, I just try to stay positive and deal with it like professionally and best sense.
So, what made you want to become an event?
Well, I'm becoming an event coordinator because I've always enjoyed planning, setting up, and creating all kinds of events. And my favorite part has always been seeing the excitement on people's faces and how much fun they're having at these things.
Do you have any prior experiences?
I have coordinated a couple events as a member of the Residents Hall Association here at EOU, and then I've also planned birthday parties and other events for my kids.
And what was that like?
It was really fun. All the events at the school year have turned out really well, and we've had a lot of students come in, and they've all told us that it's great.
Would you say do you lean towards working alone or in a group setting?
I think I lean more towards working in group settings because then I can bounce ideas off of people and it makes things more enjoyable. But I can also work alone, especially when I'm determined to get something.
What are some of your strengths?
I think some of my strengths are being a team player and working well with others. And then I also think I'm very resilient and adaptable and can still raw. I can always find another solution.
How could we help you continue to improve?
I believe that you guys could help me continue to improve them by having workplace events or get-togethers, so then all the employees can connect and work better as a team, and they have any systems to involve each other.
And so, what are some of your weaknesses?
I think that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I don't turn in my work until I believe that it's exemplary, which sometimes causes me to stress out a lot.
Do you feel as if you can improve that?
Yeah, I've always been able to get all my projects and assignments in on time, and I found a couple ways to deal with my stress, like going on walks or talking it out with my friends.
So what could we do as a company to help improve?
Again, just having the ability to bounce ideas off of other coworkers, or just having some time for breaks, so then I can go on a walk.
So I have a couple scenarios for you. So let's say you plan to continue and the family does not like.
Okay.
How would you handle this situation?
If the family didn't like the event I planned, I would specifically go speak to the member that got in contact with me first. And then I'd apologize if I was at fault. And then I'd go on to ask them what didn't go well and how I could improve on that event.
Why do you feel as if that's the best way to handle it?
I feel like that would be the best way to handle it because it would allow me to know how to do better with what I did wrong, but it also allow my client to like speak their opinion and get clarification on issues.
So another one,
Mhm.
if I wanted you to plan a wedding for my friend and his fiance, what would your first steps be?
Ooh, okay, probably gonna plan a wedding. My first steps would be to just sit down with the bride and groom. And then discuss their vision, maybe create like a vision board for them. And then my next step would be to find out their budget and their time frame. And then I'd go on from there, and like create a checklist and start going through it, the proper time management to get it all done.
So what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
Even though I don't have much prior experience in this field, I'm very enthusiastic about the position and everything that it entails. And as a communications major, I've also learned a lot of ways to interact with clients, deal with conflicts, and then combining that with my customer service skills and determination, I believe I'd be a great fit for this job.
It sounds like it. So, well, that's about all we can do. We appreciate your time and interest with working with us. Just to remind you, this interview was recorded and will be used for further evaluation. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask before we move?
Yeah, I do have a couple here. Could you describe a typical day on the job?
A typical day will be spent in the office. You'll be speaking with clients and vendors on the phone, via email, phone, or in person. You will be negotiating contracts with suppliers and facilities. You'll be creating budgets for projects, project each event. And on the fun days, you will be after the event, putting everything together.
Okay. And then, what do you personally like most about working for this company?
I would say the environment we have here. We have never had any problems with our coworkers or any customers. So it's a safe place, and with us all working together, we all bounce off ideas of each other.
Okay, that's good. And then, how is performance measured for this job?
It would be measured by customer satisfaction. The more customers you have and keep happy, the better it is for yourself.
Right, that's about all I have.
Perfect. So thank you again, Tanya. We will be contacting you within the next week to let you know if you got the job.
Awesome.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you both for getting up to a strong start for the round of interviews. We'll hear from Jill and Angela next.
My name is Jim Harris, and I'm going to be interviewing you today for the gym teacher position here at our school. The purpose of this interview is to learn more about you and see how you would fit into our workplace environment. And the information that you use will be recorded and used to make a hiring decision. Is it okay with you if we record this? Yes. There will be time at the end for questions, so let's get started. Will you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I recently graduated from the Master's of Arts in Teaching program at Eastern Oregon University. And I also attended there for my undergraduate degree where I focus on exercise science and communication studies. And during my time at Eastern Oregon University, I was also on the wrestling team. Sorry. And ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and growing up, I was always involved in like physical activities. So that's what made me interested in teaching people.
Wonderful. Can you tell me how you think your education, both in your bachelor's and your master's in teaching, will apply to help you with this job?
I feel like my educational experiences have taught me a lot. Like one thing that I've learned throughout my classes was how to structure lesson plans, and how to like look at the objectives and standards for any subject. and how to plan accordingly to meet those objectives and standards. And I've also learned many different information on different topics within the physical education field that can help me properly and effectively teach the students.
Can you tell me about a specific situation you encountered in your educational experience that you think shaped and informed your teaching?
One thing that I can think of that has shaped my teaching the most is just a mentor of mine, which is my female coach, and just seeing the impact that she had on me as well as others just made me realize that I wanted to be that person for others. And I really enjoyed her style of coaching and felt like it was very beneficial because she focused on everyone's individual needs and didn't like just coach and teach everyone that one specific way, which I think it really helps my way of teaching.
You said that you wanted to go into teaching to like help people and coach them. Is there anything in your past that made you specifically want to go into teaching? I know you said that you've been playing sports your whole life. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Just growing up, I just always knew like I wanted to be a teacher, and like I mentioned, my female coach like did inspire me, and I just kind of want to make an impact and a difference on like future generations, and also teach them about having like an active lifestyle and how important that is. And I just want to share the love I have for PE with others and just teach them the importance of this practice. That's awesome.
Can you give me an example of a lesson you might prepare for your students?
Well, a lesson that I might prepare like depends on the grade and like the objective and standard I'm trying to accomplish. But in general, I will first like a lesson I'll tell the students what we will be doing in the beginning of class, and we'll start with a warm-up and then complete the activity for the day. So like for example, if we're working on a basketball unit, we'll first work on like passing and dribbling skills, and then from after doing that for about 15 minutes we can move on to working in smaller groups and maybe including a defender so they can pass around people. And then once that's completed, we'll end the class with a cool down, and like that's typically how like a lesson would go, just starting with the warm-up, going into the activity, and then starting with or ending with them.
Great. What specific qualities do you have that you think would make you a good fit for this position?
I think the experience I have working with children in various settings and ages is a great quality that I have for this position. So some of the experience that I've had has really helped me to understand like different children and how they learn and react, and how I can approach them in different ways to help better their like learning styles and their skills. I'm also a great communicator and communicate effectively and in a timely manner, and that can be applied to how I communicate with students, parents, and coworkers. And I also feel that I'm empathetic and patient, which I feel like is a great skill and quality to have when working with young kids, because you need to understand them, and they also may get easily distracted and frustrated, which is why it's important to be patient with them, and also important to listen to what their needs are to help them be successful within class. So those are just some qualities that I have.
What do you think is the most important part of classroom management?
I think the important part of classroom management is setting rules from the start. And I think like one way that I can do this is with each individual class, we make our own rules. And I find that when students are involved in that process, they tend to follow them more since they are the ones that created this.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can you give me an example of how you would resolve a conflict between some of your students?
If two students were to get into a conflict, I would separate them depending on like the conflict, and might let them like cool down before I speak to them and have them like reflect on their thoughts. And then I would speak to them individually to hear like what happened, and then based on that, like I'll bring them together and help mediate the conversation and work with them to come to a resolution.
Wonderful. The interview is wrapping up, so as we finish, are there any questions that you have?
Yes, I understand you guys are busy and I just wanted to know when I might hear back from you guys.
Yeah, so we should be in touch sometime in the next few weeks. We'll either call you or reach out to you by email, and if you don't hear back by then, feel free to reach out by email.
My last question is there anything I should or could be doing in the meantime to help me prepare for the show?
Yeah, of course. I would say familiarize yourself with state benchmarks and state objectives for the type of teaching you want to be doing and for each specific grade level that you'll be teaching. And also just continue to learn, continue to get experience in the field. And that should be.
Great, I'll definitely work on familiarizing myself with the objectives and maybe create some lesson plan so that I'm set to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Whenever you're ready to start, we will hear from the other side.
Good morning, Joe. My name is Angela and I will be conducting your interview today. I would like to start by letting you know that I will be taking notes during this interview, so please don't get discouraged if I'm not maintaining eye contact. I promise I'm listening. So before we start, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Could you please start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my sort of background, I came from a small rural town. I'm a huge family person. My mom and my brother, I'm very close to them. I went to high school at the Grand High School, and there I got my high school degree as well as an award for excellence in chemistry and physics. And then I went on to get my bachelor's of science in psychology and with a music minor at Eastern Oregon University.
Nice. What made you interested in psychology?
So I have a family history of mental illness, and so I've kind of grown up seeing that, how that impacts people and how that can really harm people's lives, and how psychology can help those people and help them be more functional and help them just like have a better life. And I also really love problem solving. And so the idea of not only in research, taking all of these ideas and sort of using those to structure my own research and to learn more things, but also when I work with clients, the clients give me information and I can sort of piece all of that information together to come up with a big picture, and I can use that to help the clients. And so I really love helping people and seeing the impact of psychology, but I also really love problem solving and that sort of like puzzle type solving.
Why are you interested in art?
Yeah, I really love the dedication that your program has to training students, both as researchers, clinicians, and educators. And I also really love the work that my potential advisor, Lauren Ally, has been doing. Her work in the area of mood disorders is really life-changing for people with those disorders. And she's one of the greats in this area of research. And so I would really love to work with her because I think that our research interests align very well.
Have you completed any type of research? If so, what have you found?
Yeah, so I've worked both in a research team and on individual research. So in the psychology research team, our topics included the relationship between pornography and empathy, as well as right-wing authoritarianism, religious stereotypes and meta-stereotypes, and emotional responses towards sexual assault victims. And then my independent research focuses on queer studies. I recently did both a systematic literature review and a two-part experimental study into how the terms bisexual and non-binary have changed in recent years, as well as how those terms are applied to different people depending on those people's ages and genders.
Would you change anything about the way you conducted your research? If so, what are some of the tricks?
Yeah, so in our research teams, we didn't really have the resources to put power behind those. So the way that we used questionnaires didn't allow for us to get the most accurate statistics, which would have allowed those research studies to be published. And also, with my studies into, queer people. The area that I lived in at the time was a very rural area, and so, we took data from that area, but we also partnered with other areas. Because we thought that if we just used our sample, it would be skewed because we're in such a rural area. And so I really wish that we had been able to partner with more schools to get a broader background of information on that topic.
So, at our program at the university, we really focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So could you tell me what that means to you?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion sort of hits on. We want that our community has a diverse population, that we get information from all types of backgrounds. Equity is just making sure everybody has equal opportunities, equal participation, equal appreciation. And then inclusion is really making sure that we welcome those people and that we make it a culture where those people can thrive with their individual backgrounds. And that's super important to me, especially because I've been doing a lot of research into queer people, which is they're marginalized, they're often excluded, especially with the political climate right now. And so it's more important than ever that we include those people and that we make environments where those people are welcome to shine and to show their uniqueness instead of just, not being able to talk about it or not being in a situation where they feel that they can be their most authentic selves.
How do you respond to critical feedback from an advisor?
Yeah, so I would first talk to that supervisor about what I did wrong and have a really in-depth conversation about what they want to see from me in the future and what exactly went wrong. And then I would ask them, what do you think the plan of change is? What do you think I can be doing differently? And then I would start implementing the changes that they talked about and then check in with them along the way to make sure that the plan of action that we put into place really addresses all of the areas that they were concerned about.
So, last question before we wrap up. If you're working with a group of students on a research project and a member of the group is not doing their work, how would you approach that situation?
Yeah, so it depends on what lab the student is a part of, because if they're not part of my lab, but we're working together, I would potentially talk to their advisor. But if they're on my particular research team, usually people on the same research team know each other really well and you're all good friends. And so I would approach them and say, like, hey, what's going on? Do you have, are you overwhelmed? Do you need help? And try to figure it out with them. And then if that doesn't work, I bring in our advisor and say, here's kind of what's going on. And here's what I've seen. How can we fix this going on? How can we support this person into making their best work? But most of the time, grad students are very involved and passionate about what they do. So I don't foresee that being a situation that would come up often.
So that's all the questions I have for you today. Do you have any questions for me?
Can you tell me about what a typical day looks like for a grad student in this program?
So a typical day consists of like 3 broad activities, which is your classwork, your clinical work, and your research. And so your classwork will be like in the beginning of the day, and then depending on how you want to schedule your research, that will take place, and then clinical work is scheduled aside.
Gotcha. And are there any ways to participate in community service or advocacy on campus?
Yes, here at Temple, we have a bunch of different programs. Some of the opportunities we have is working as a peer mentor through living learning communities. And we also work closely with Big Brothers Big Sisters at Temple and random acts of kindness, which we did also.
Nice. I think that's all the questions that I have.
Thank you.
Right, and now we'll hear from our final partner, Gordon Thomas.
Hello, Thomas. My name is Mark Church. I've been interviewing for the job of lifeguard here Ivy Law. Thank you for coming here to interview for this position. There will be time to interview for questions. If you have any questions for me,
I do not.
tell me about yourself.
I was born in Boise, Idaho. I currently attend EOU in the Grand Oregon. There, I am finishing up my freshman year, and I'm on the cross country track team there. And I have been involved in many sports in my life, like running and swimming and other miscellaneous sports.
How did you hear about this position?
I have a couple friends that lifeguard there, and a couple years back, my sister lifeguarded there as well, so she kind of knows the area and told me I should apply for it.
Why do you think this job will be?
Because, like I said, my sister told me about it, and I've always been interested in something like that, and it's a good summer job, and growing up, I did swim team and stuff there, so I kind of know the environment a little bit, and yeah. So,
I see on your resume that you have previous experience in lifeguarding. Tell me a little bit about that.
yeah, so I lifeguarded at a different pool in Boise, and it was all right. I mean, the people there really cool, and I like the management a lot, and I enjoy being outside and lifeguarding. I enjoy the environment around it.
What other experience do you have with work?
When I was a bit younger, I cleaned my mom's preschool, and so I kind of know a little bit about like custodial work. And this past winter, I worked at a bakery for one of my mom's friends, packaging bread, and just other stuff that she needed me to do there.
What are your strengths?
I'm a very hard worker. I've noticed that with running at such a high level that I know how to work hard, I know what it takes, and I also have noticed that I work well with others. Like I enjoy being around others and talking to them and stuff like that.
What are your
My weaknesses are probably that sometimes I don't set boundaries I need to. Like at my last job, I overworked myself a lot and possibly did not enjoy the job as much. So working on that, I just working to like set boundaries for like this is the day I have off and not going to work stuff like that.
why did you leave your last job?
I left my last job because the management was kind of iffy, and I was overworked, and we were also understaffed. So I was working a lot, and I didn't really have a lot of time for like a personal life, and I didn't enjoy that at all.
Do you work best alone or with the team?
I feel like I work best alone, but I'm also very good at working with the team. I'm very confident in my abilities to do stuff, so I feel like working alone is something I'm more comfortable with. But at the same time, working with the team, I'm good at like talking with others and communicating and expressing what I think we should do and just bouncing ideas off of each other and stuff like that.
In your last job, did you have any experiences in which you had to jump with the facility?
I did, yeah, a couple times. But it was mainly just deep water stuff, like going off slides or diving boards. They just struggled coming up out of the water. It wasn't anything super serious, just jump in, tube and stuff.
For this job, you'll be required to spend a lot of time on the side. How well do you think?
I handle it pretty well. I feel like I can stay outside for a while, and then as long as I'm hydrated and stuff, I feel like I don't do too bad out there.
Within this job, is anticipated at some point that you'll be in a scenario when you have to in this situation, how would you solve the problem?
I think I'm pretty good at solving problems. I grew up with 3 siblings, and so we're always fighting stuff, and so I'm used to like solving problems and like diffusing in, like mediating and just asking what was wrong and just making sure the problem is solved and understood, just stuff like that.
This job can be physically demanding and requires you to be healthy and in good shape. And you need to stay in shape.
I run a lot, and so it keeps me pretty good shape, and I also swim occasionally. So, in terms of being in the water, I'm very comfortable.
When on the stand and washing the water, it's important to be vigilant. And when you're on the stand for a while, it can become difficult to stay vigilant. What steps do you take to ensure that focus?
I just make sure that I'm focused on the water and that what's going on in the water, and like if I ever get distracted, I'll like stand up and just like kind of make sure I'm focused on it. Or if I really need to, I'll call over another lifeguard while I go, like take a little bit of a break so I can like refresh my mind and then come back a little bit, just make sure everything's good.
Before you wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have one question. What does the typical day look like on the job?
There are two different shifts available. The morning shift requires you to arrive at 6 a.m. do full maintenance, like chemical testing, and vacuum. And then your lifeguard, the swim team, laps from the end of one. The afternoon shift has 3 2-hour sessions with 30-minute breaks between each session. They go from 1 p.m. to. Then you'll be required to clean up around the pool and clean the passage for fun. Do you have any other questions?
That's it.
Thank you for your time, and we'll get back to you within the position.
We will hear from our final interview.
Thank you for coming in today to interview for the Bureau of Land Management Wildland Firefighter position. This interview will be recorded. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right, then let's get started. Can you please introduce yourselves and tell me why you're interested in the wildland?
My name is Mark Church. I'm from Fruitland, Idaho. I'm currently attending Eastern Oregon University. I grew up on the farm raising cattle, so I'm used to manual labor outside. And growing up, I would just love camping, hiking, and being outdoors. And additionally, my older sister has been a wildland firefighter for a couple of years. So she told me about wildland firefighting. It sounded like a good job for the summer.
Awesome. It says on your resume that you worked for a private wildland firefighter company last year. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with them?
Yeah, last summer I applied for the wildland fire position on a private company. They trained me at the beginning of the summer. But because there weren't a lot of fires last summer, I didn't get to go out on the fire until the end of the summer. And my boss wasn't very good at keeping me up to date on things, which was a little annoying. So I wanted to try out fighting fires somewhere else.
What was your reason for leaving that job?
I had to leave for school.
What skills or experience do you have that might transition over to being a wildland firefighter?
Growing up on a farm, I've experienced with manual labor, burning ditches, and doing small control units.
Wildland firefighting can be physically demanding and requires a lot of teamwork. How do you handle stressful situations to make effective treatments?
I think that it's very important to communicate effectively during stressful situations, especially working with a team, as well as to listen and respect your teammates in order to build trust together.
As a wildland firefighter, you'll often face dangerous and unpredictable situations. How do you ensure your own safety and the safety of others while working in such situations?
I believe that safety is the highest priority in any firefighting operation. I follow safety protocols and procedures, including wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, maintaining situational awareness, and following communication protocols. I would continuously assess risk and stay up to date on weather conditions, fire behavior, and trust my captain's decisions.
Awesome. Physical fitness is crucial for wildland firefighters. How do you stay in shape and what measures do you take to maintain physical fitness?
This past year, I've been competing on the UA's track and field team, so I've been consistently working out for the past year. And as we get closer to summer, I've added more cardio to get a better shape.
Okay. Wildland firefighting often involves working in challenging weather conditions. How do you handle extreme environments?
When we're working in heated support, prioritize your health, which includes wearing appropriate protective clothing, using food measures to staying hydrated. Those are all very important things to take into consideration. I try to do that as much as I can. It's also important is I pay attention to signs of heat exhaustion and take the appropriate measures to prevent or treat it.
Effective decision making is crucial in firefighting scenarios. How do you approach making critical decisions?
When making important decisions, it's important to remain calm and not to act impulsively. I would gather as much information on the situation as possible, evaluate the situation, especially possible solutions with my supervisor experience. Although it's important to act in a timely manner, you also need to take account of the safety of yourself and your teammates.
Communication is key during firefighting operations. How do you communicate clearly and effectively with your team members and superiors?
I would practice being actively listening, communicating with my team members, as well as knowing how to use the radio and use the appropriate terminology so that you can communicate with people that aren't with you back at the place.
Yes, communication is very important. Wildland firefighters often work in remote areas. How do you adapt to working in isolated environments with limited resources?
I would collaborate with my team members and make sure that everything is taken care of, as well as ration food and water. Use our resources as efficiently as possible.
Wildland firefighters can be unpredictable and situations can escalate rapidly. How do you stay calm and focused in highly dynamic and rapidly evolving situations?
Staying calm and focused is crucial for effective firefighting. So understand the importance of maintaining situational awareness, keeping my emotions in check. Very important. And by staying focused on the task at hand, communicating with my team, I'll be able to navigate these challenging situations.
The wildland firefighter, you may encounter hazardous materials and dangerous wildlife. How do you ensure your safety and the safety of others in face of these challenges?
I prioritize safety by following the established safety protocols and guidelines, and by maintaining situational awareness, ensuring that proper precautions are taken, such as using PPE, establishing safe perimeters, and following detainment procedures, able to minimize risks and ensure safety.
Can you explain how you would prioritize your tasks and manage your time effectively during a firefighting operation to ensure maximum efficiency and productivity?
I would start by assessing the situation, identifying most critical tasks that require immediate attention. And if my attention capital isn't available to delegate tasks, I would delegate the responsibilities of my team members to each other and based on our expertise and strengths.
Awesome. That's all the questions I have for you. Do you have any questions you're going to ask?
What is a typical day of fighting or not?
Usually you will come to the station and brief on what needs to be done that day, and whether it is maintenance on the engines or project that needs to be worked on. When you're not on a fire, we have 9 work hours.
And how often are you set up for fire?
It depends on what time of year it is. In the spring, it may be 1 or 2 small fires every couple of weeks. But when we get into late summer, we'll be out on fires for multiple weeks with a couple of days between fires. Do you have any more questions?
No, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, and we'll contact you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we are at time. I want to thank you all for really great interviews. I've really enjoyed getting to know more about the things you're interested in. So I will break down and discuss these interviews for next week. But you're welcome to reach out to me if you'd like to talk more specifically about your interview. So next week we will get into different styles of interviews to suit your final assignments. Look forward to that Google form on Monday, and have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you again next week.
Yes, so you're. So that's what we have that.